Conor Benn, Chris Eubank.
I think that's the only place to start, really.
We got to start there. Do you know what I'm saying? It's finally here. 2 years later.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, yeah, we're at a stage where I can honestly say I'm looking forward to it.
Because of the egg slap.
No, nothing to do with the egg slap.
Partly to do with the egg slap. You literally said you weren't looking forward to it, and then when the egg slap happened, you said,
let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because the beef is real. The beef is real.
The eggs are real.
Yeah, it's real. Like, it's a real... Like, this ain't a manufactured thing. And the truth...
I can't see them hugging after the fight.
Literally, or shaking hands after. This is a real fight. This is two men who genuinely don't like each other.
To be fair, one of the kind of segments we were going to discuss is what happens next year, but there might have to be a rematch.
We'll get to that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think so. I just
don't know what's there for either one of them. So that's why I feel like...
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a topic in itself. I feel like that in itself is a topic in itself.
Well, let's talk about it now.
Okay.
Let's just
no. Because I want to build up to who I think's gonna win.
Okay, fine.
Because part of what's gonna be next is based on who I think's gonna win. And I feel, but just relaying it back to the whole thing, like the main point is the fight in itself. Why I'm so intrigued with the fight is because for me it's like I've seen so many manufactured beef in this country, like GMO beef, bro. No grass-fed beef. This is GMO, bro.
Yeah, pure pesticides.
Trust me, this fight here is real.
Yeah.
These two men don't like each other, and it ain't gonna be no feel-out rounds or none of that. It's going to be an absolute war, and more than anything, bro, more than anything, because I've heard Eddie Hearn say, "Oh, well, look, he doesn't know why people don't are against the fight," and he's like, "Oh, we got two world-level fighters." I'm like, they aren't world level. They are two very flawed fighters. And I think because they're both flawed fighters, because they're going to make so much mistakes, that's why it's going to be so entertaining.
I think people still like to see a fight where there's real needle. Mm-hmm. There's something to see in someone put their whole ego on the line, and someone's ego is going to be crushed.
That shit get banged.
Do you know what I'm saying? This will be obviously Conor Benn's never lost. Eubank's only lost to world champions. But this would hurt. This would, and obviously it would hurt the most because it's not even a world level fight to go and lose to Conor Benn. But I think on a personal level, this would hurt. I don't know his relationship with Billy Joe Saunders, but I don't imagine he has real beef with George Groves or anything like that.
He doesn't have he had beef with Saunders. He didn't have beef with Groves, and I think even with the whole Groves thing, I guess there was a little bit of. There was a built-in excuse to Groves. Obviously, he was at 68. Groves is a natural 68. But Groves is also a world champion.
Yeah.
So you tried to win a world title, you lost. You know what I'm saying? There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
Losing to someone who's 2 weight classes below you, I think there's shame in that.
And someone that's not world level.
And someone who's not world level.
Cool. And now there's an argument, Chris Eubank maybe isn't world level today, but he's been world level.
And we can also make the argument that, in fact, let me ask you this. Do you feel like, because for me it doesn't, but I was born in 1998. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like the Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank senior rivalry like makes it more intriguing, or do you think that's just...
Yeah.
You think for
100%. I mean, not necessarily for me. I was born in 93. But for people like my dad, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're seeing their sons coming, like, it's like off topic, on topic, like Jack Wilshere is managing Norwich at the moment. He's like interim manager for Norwich, and he's going to play Cardiff. Who's managing Cardiff currently?
No.
Aaron Ramsey.
Oh, swear.
So Jack Wilshere against Aaron Ramsey as managers.
Yeah, mad.
It's interesting. Do you know what I mean? If you're somebody that grew up in the era of watching these two play, it'll be interesting to see them go head to head, and they're friends, not even their enemies. Do you know what I mean? So, and the beef of Nigel Benn and Eubank was very real. Do you know what I'm saying? So it has to add some intrigue.
I feel like it does, because for them, they were raised in it. For them two,
yes,
they were raised in it. They saw the effects that it had on
both
their
dad's
fathers.
careers are very much defined by one another.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
You know, like Fraser and Ali.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if Ali and Fraser ever had sons that fought each other, Fraser's son did actually box. But,
yeah. But like, even the fact that like they were two representatives of, at the time in the 90s, two very different cultures of black people. Black people were trying to establish themselves in Britain still, and there were two different kind of directions that you went in. If I look at my family, I've got some cousins that are maybe not quite Chris Eubank Sr, but they tried to go that kind of road. And then they've got people that's Nigel Benn that went that kind of road. And the families typically, you go to most big black family barbecues or Christmases, and the cousins them are just split like that.
But guess what? They both fell in love with a white woman and got two mixed race pitneys. So the truth is, But if we're keeping it real though,
you might be obsessed. You bring up white women every podcast.
No, we're just
you might be obsessed. You bring up white women every podcast. Every podcast you bring it up. Just try it, man.
That's so funny. But I feel like why I wasn't so intrigued with the first fight and why I'm so intrigued with the second fight is because the first fight I felt like it was a manufactured thing. I felt like they were just doing it because they were
It was
sons.
heavily reliant on their dad's legacy. Yeah.
Because they were the son of their fathers. But now, after all the contamination, or egg contamination or PD,
I think Chris Eubank genuinely feels disrespected. I think Chris Eubank Jr. feels genuinely disrespected. We saw the video, it's on our channel, Shane was over in Saudi. You got the clip of Conor Benn walking up on him when he was fighting in Saudi. And I think that Chris Eubank thinks, you are several levels below me. You've not fought at, is he fought at European level? Conor Benn? Just about?
Yeah.
So you fought at around European level. I've been fighting at world level. Who are you to walk me down? Who are you to kind of... You know, the fact that when this fight first came out, some people kind of had it as a 50-50, the promotion around it. Obviously, Eddie's the bigger name promoter because it's him and Ben Shalom. I think if Chris Eubank maybe had Frank Warren in his corner, maybe the promotion would be more in his favour. But Eddie's walking around saying these are two world level fighters. I think Chris must feel very disrespected that some people had this down as a 50-50, or some people had this down as when they said Chris Eubank would win, they were leaning on Chris Eubank's going to win because he's bigger. And Chris Eubank's thinking, I'm just better than him. How dare you? I mean, the pure disrespect he must feel.
I feel like, for me, and what Ben's done a great job indirectly. He hasn't even done it directly. But he's done a great job in making people hate him.
Yeah.
And because of that, now people are also tuning in to just see him lose.
Yeah.
Whereas with Eubank, that's normally Eubank's MO.
Yeah.
That's normally Eubank's place where he stands. But it's also, I'll be real, it's also made me more intrigued within this fight because when I watched it, when the first fight was happening, I'm like they're just almost selling Ben's because I'm like, this guy can't win. He has no way of winning. But at that time, I was also 50-50 because I'm like, Ben had come off some good performances. Since then, it's been terrible performances. He's come off like some real bad performances. So I'm like, I guess...
Chris Eubank's lost though.
Exactly.
But not by stoppage.
No, he did. He got stopped by Smith.
That's what I'm saying. He's been stopped.
He got lost by a stoppage. So I feel like seeing that, it's now made me go, rotted. Okay, there is actually now a method in which Conor Benn can win. Whereas the first time around, I saw no way. Even when
Chris avenged that loss to Smith and came back and beat him, Smith had a leg injury, he couldn't walk. There was some extenuating...
I don't have Bomac anymore.
Do you know what I mean? There's some extenuating circumstances behind that. Yeah, Bomac with him at the time. He don't have that coach anymore. Jonathan Banks, some people rate him. He's a reasonable coach, but he's just not. He's not Bomac, is he? So, and then again, it's just adjusting. It's more, Eubank's life is a life of turbulence. Do you mean in his boxing
2 years
career?
older than he was last time as well.
And his life and his boxing career is just pure turbulence, constant changing, and a lot of that is his fault, in my opinion. Even to be fair, like I say, where he probably feels disrespected with the way that people are making this fight out to be like a 50-50 or a close fight, or whatever. He might feel disrespected, but he's put himself in all these positions. Other than Conor Benn's drug situation, you chose to accept this fight. You chose to go and drain yourself at the weight. You chose all of these different things. You know, you choose to not listen to coaches and constantly change your coaches because you've had identity issues in the past. These seems to have come through that now. Seems to listen to his coaches more now. But you've chosen to waste your prime years with. Do you know what I mean? Like I struggle to empathise with Chris Eubank Jr.
I don't think, as it currently stands, I don't think Eubank even is looking for sympathy at this time. I think as it currently stands, and I guess it gets to the B for the conversation. As it currently stands, Eubank is literally in it for fame, fortune. There isn't a legacy to it. And yeah, I guess the legacy, you know, it will be if Ben's win or Ben's lose, you know, if Eubank's win, I guess there's that. And there's saving face, you know, because if Eubank loses, there's no coming back.
Yeah.
But for me, I guess this takes it to the next part of the conversation. How do you see Eubank winning and how do you see Ben win? If there is a way in which you see either of them guys winning.
I'm just thinking about, can Eubank stop a young, relatively fresh, albeit not as powerful as he was when he was enhanced, Conor Benn? I don't know. He can outbox him.
But he's small though. He's so small. Like, I do not feel like that's gonna play a part. And he's so inexperienced. He's never really been hit by someone as good as Eubank.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's what makes it intriguing because there's so many questions that are unanswered. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't know about Ben's power. We don't know about Eubank's punch resistance at this point. We don't know about Ben's punch resistance, how he takes a punch. We don't know if Ben can. I don't think Eubank is the best boxing going backwards, but he's definitely better than Ben boxing going backwards. Ben's never had to box going backwards before. So what does he do? You know, does he come in and, you know, we had a conversation with Rance. Does he come in and just try to take him out early? Ben, this is, and if he can't take him out in 4 or 5 rounds, what happens when he gets round 5 or 6?
That's the game plan that they're saying. I've heard Tony Sims say, Eddie Hearn say, and the thing is, it's not even a time where, you know, some people double bluff and they say something that I genuinely believe that's what they're going to try.
He's not good enough to double bluff.
So yeah, facts. Yeah, he's not good enough to double bluff.
No, he hasn't got anything else in his locker.
Yeah,
so
like it's just that rule. He's not good enough to double bluff.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then it's like you're asking a man who hasn't got a knockout in 3 years, who's fought 2 Y for the D, but D level fighters in his last 2 fights at a lower weight class. Yeah. At a lower weight class, and he hasn't got a stoppage, and you're asking him to move up a weight again to fight a guy who is more experienced and probably more schooled than you, and you're asking him to stop him. I don't see how that makes sense.
Some of the D-level fighters he fought, though, were good, experienced, surviving journeymen. That's what they do. Like, I think one of them had never been stopped before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, they're professional survivors. Do you know what I mean? So they're not going to beat him. But I don't think it looks as bad that he doesn't stop them necessarily.
Why would you have confidence that he's just going to stop Eubank? I guess they say Smith, but Smith is a better fighter than Ben.
Yeah.
What? Again, there's this thing that they obviously have a narrative that there's things that Conor Benn's doing that we just obviously don't see. They're obviously getting confidence from the sparring and all of that.
Every single time I've seen AJ get knocked out, it was the best camp he's ever had. He's in great shape. It's the best sparring. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, man, that's what it is. Like, man, obviously it's boxing, innit? Like, it's the most mental sport, the most mind game sport there is in the world. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to go there and say, I haven't had a good training camp, whatever. You don't want to give Eubank any confidence. But we are asking Ben to do something that he's never done before. Step up in weight and knock someone out who's far more experienced than him. He's never done it. Do you know what I mean?
He's never even fought nowhere near this level. I can't see any... If you're asking me how Ben wins...
But when you say this level, this is the other question. What level? Right now, other than Chris Eubank Jr.'s name, is he world level? Probably not.
I would say...
Is he European level?
I would say Eubank is fringe world level.
Okay.
And I would say Conor Benn at 147 is fringe world level.
Okay.
You're asking someone who's fringe world level to go up to 160 and fight someone who's fringe world level. So fight someone who's at the same level as you, as it currently stands, but bigger and more experienced.
And you're not fringe world level as a boxer. You're not Madrimov. You're not someone that Madrimov's world level, but like you're not someone that's going to go and win on points. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we're asking you to step up
and knock him out.
Do you know what I mean? Like Canelo can win on points or stop someone. So when he steps up to fight Bivol, we thought Bivol would win, but there's some half to where maybe Canelo can win. You're asking who's a knockout artist? You're asking Benavidez to step up.
No, let's just say, let's take
David Morrell. You're asking David Morrell to step up and go and knock out JL Pataya or someone like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and if you don't knock him out, you're going to lose. Like, but then when you say it like that, it's like that fight could happen. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that fight does happen. I guess at the lower weight classes, it's a big difference. But Ben blows up. Ben blows up. What's the limit on this? 170?
160 and then 10 pounds rehydration.
170?
Yeah.
They'll both be at 170.
No, I mean, when they actually go into the ring, he's going to be able to rehydrate again because it's not in the arena rehydration, it's next day rehydration. So between, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning in the fight, he might put on an extra 10 pounds, maybe another 5 pounds. So he probably...
And I don't even know if that works for him because...
I mean, Eubank will be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, in my opinion, I see Conor Benn literally going out like a gun. I see literally going out like a gun and just trying to attack Ben early, and Eubank will try and box early, but I feel like one thing I will say,
it's going to be a fight.
It's going to be a great fight, and the reason why I say it's going to be a great fight because they're both so flawed.
Yeah,
they both make so much mistakes that the other person is going to be able to.
It's going to be the opposite of Bivol Beterbiev. That was a great fight because they're both great. This is a great fight because they're both not
great. Yeah. And they're both gonna find a way to expose. In fact, not even expose. They're gonna have so much
exploit. It's not exposing because we know the flaws. To exploit.
They're gonna be able. There's gonna be so much flaws that you're gonna be able to exploit it so easily, and there's gonna be so much raw emotion. And for me, the only question mark that I have for Eubank is how much does the rehydration penalty affect him? That's the only question mark. The reason why I say that is because we saw how tight it was at the weight last time and there weren't a rehydration on that. Now there's a rehydration. How much does that affect him? Because it won't affect him like mentally, like he's still going to have as much confidence as ever, but it will affect him physically, like his punch resilience. It might affect his gas tank, which historically has always been.
Mentally. It could affect him mentally. He's very, but fighters generally, but especially him, we've seen him, he's a bit sensitive when he's weight trained. Everyone is, do you know what I mean? He's not eating, he's it will affect you mentally. Not necessarily mentally as a boxer, but mentally in the preparation or mentally, it's harder to dig deep it's harder to get up and come off the canvas if you're weight trained. All of those things, you just don't have your strength behind you. For the average person, I've had to cut weight for fights before. It's like having a fight when you're at your most starving. Do you know what I mean? Think about the hungriest you've ever been, and then someone saying, "Do you want to go play football right now?" You'd be like, "No, I'm starving. Like, I don't want." Do you mean? Imagine being that starving and then.
It does have a mental effect on you as well because your concentration levels are down.
All of that kind of stuff.
I'm saying? When you're dehydrating, you also dehydrate your brain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of water weight you lose. So I get that. The only thing is though, I just don't think Conor Benn's good enough to exploit it. I just don't think so. I just don't think Conor Benn's good enough to exploit the mistakes that Eubank will make.
Not only is it's so funny because I see a lot of similarities in current Conor Benn and early Chris Eubank, where not only do I say that Conor Benn is not good enough to exploit the weaknesses that are there, I think Conor Benn believes his own hype and believes that he is. He's not even like some man, I remember like Rocky Fielding fighting Canelo or someone like that, and it's like, yeah, I've got a puncher's chance. Let's see what happens, blood. Do you know what I'm saying? But he kind of knows he's probably going to lose.
Of course.
Conor Benn never believed that.
Trust
Conor Benn walking in there believing, and it's the same way.
Eubank
believed in his own hype when he was young.
You know why that's dark? Mm-hmm. You know why that's dark? Because I was going to give a fight which I thought was similar, but then you just brought up a really good point. You know why that's dark? Because when you go to that place where you didn't expect to be, it's even harder to get up.
Yeah.
It's even hard. Like when Devin fought Ryan Garcia and he got dropped, and he's on the canvas,
The shock.
It's the shock, like, rotted. How did I get here?
Yeah.
When AJ gets dropped against against Ruiz.
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Yeah. When AJ got dropped against Klitschko, it wasn't a massive surprise.
Wasn't
so he was like, okay,
surprise.
we're at that part of the fight.
Facts.
Now we're at the part where I get up and try to win. Whereas, like you say, you never expected him to be dropped.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when Fury got dropped against Wilder, it's easier because this guy's he can crack. Okay, this is what it feels like. You know what I'm saying? So if Ben, because of that ignorance, because of that blind confidence, he's not going into that fight thinking if this guy drops me, I'm expecting it. He's going into it as soon as I land, I am going to knock this dude down. What happens if you don't? When you go to that place, what happens then?
And you have nothing else in the toolbox.
Facts.
You haven't prepared for anything else.
Can you imagine, and I'm sorry to use this as an example, but can you imagine if Ryan hits Devin flush with a left hook and he doesn't fall? Can you imagine what that would do to you psychologically?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it does to both fighters? Can you imagine if Ben hits Eubank flush and Eubank's like, raw, is that it? What confidence does that give me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing, but it works the other way around. Can you imagine if 3 rounds, Eubank's just been ferocious pressure and pressure. Ben's just been putting ferocious pressure and you're expecting him to slow down and he doesn't. But for me, I just think at some stage, and I actually think there's a chance that this fight might end early. I actually think there's a chance that Eubank stops Ben within the first 6 rounds. Because I feel like after the first 2, because I do believe Ben's going to be, he's way more accurate. That's one thing he definitely does have. He's way more accurate. He's also got, I think, he's more a confident fighter because Ben.
Yeah.
When you brought up the identity crisis, I still feel like whilst he maybe has overcome the worst of it, Eubank, he's still not as sure of himself as Eubank is, as Ben is.
Yeah.
But I feel like once it's one of those ones where the scale will start like this: confidence here for Ben, confidence here for Eubank, and once that starts to go like this, once Eubank starts to land and Ben's still there, they start to go like that, and then once, as you said, Ben goes to a place where he's never been before, that's when it's like, you're going to have to show me something. Yeah. You're going to have to show me a level of character that I've never seen. And I can't see him doing anything with that.
If he can win, that will definitely put him at world level for his natural weight.
I'm going to ask you your predictions and we can go into what's next. But who do you think wins that fight and how?
But the logic in me says that Eubank tries to make it ugly, scrappy, survive an early onslaught. Ben isn't a long fighter down the stretch, and the gas tank will go, and focused aggression and smart strategic aggression. Eubank in the later rounds, 8, 9, a very tired Conor Benn, he's going to be so blown up. Eubank starts to
weight starts to
the extra weight starts to become a problem for him. Eubank will have the same extra weight, but that's closer to his natural weight. So the extra 10 pounds they rehydrate is a massive benefit to Eubank and a massive deficit to Ben. And I think that I could see that happening. That's the logical scenario in my mind as I see it happening.
You see points,
I see a late stoppage for Eubank, mid to late rounds, 8, 9 around there. Eubank.
See a late stoppage for Eubank.
But the problem I have with Eubank is that he doesn't do the game plan. He doesn't do that. I don't know that he doesn't come out and just fire with fire. I don't know that he doesn't do that.
But I believe this is going to be a mad take. But I think even if he does fire with fire, I think he still wins.
He just knocks him out?
I still think he wins. I think even if he holds his feet and fights fire with Ben, I think he still wins that fight. The reason why I feel like he wins that fight is because I don't think emotion don't win you fights, bro. And I think when you have to hold your nerve, I think Eubank's better than that. I think Eubank is I think he's technically insufficient, but I don't think he's psychologically insufficient. I think Eubank is actually quite a cool and calm character in the ring. I feel like he's almost quite calculated. Yeah.
He didn't used to be.
I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about right now. And this version of Eubank, when it comes down to it, if he holds his feet, he's holding his feet because he senses something. Yeah. He knows something, or he's felt something in Ben and I feel like that's why I feel like Ben gets stopped early. Because I feel like because Ben's gonna be so aggressive and he's gonna put so much on his shot so early, and I even think he's gonna get success it's almost going to be like a Dubois Hergovich team.
Yeah. The success he gets is going to give him a false sense of security and a false narrative. He's going to buy into that narrative, and then he's going to get hit back with something.
And then,
like
as you said,
Ruiz.
and then when he's in reverse, what does he do?
Yeah,
I can't see him fighting in reverse because at some stage Ben's gonna Eubank will get Ben fighting in reverse at some stage because I
was going to say this fight's going to be a lot about territory. We're going to see
facts.
The territory is going to give me so much information in this fight. Who's going forwards? Who's going backwards? It's going to tell me. It's going to tell me everything.
I mean, it's very similar to like when you think about like a Joe Frazier and an Ali. I know the levels are so different, but Ali has a jab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ben has no jab.
Yeah.
Eubank has a better jab, but I would say Eubank's footwork going back isn't as good as Conor Benn's footwork going forward.
Yeah.
However, the issue is if I can take your shot and you can't take my shot. I feel like when you look at like the reason I use
whoever's going backwards is at a massive disadvantage. There are some fights where if you're walking backwards, you're not necessarily at a disadvantage, not as much. If Canelo fights Benavidez, if Benavidez is going backwards, he's not necessarily in trouble. He's just going backwards, and he wants to try to flick it, so he's going forwards.
Like
but it's not devastating. If Conor Benn starts walking backwards, it's devastating.
That's what I'm saying. It is we're at problem stage right now, and I just feel like at some stage Eubank's going to get him going in reverse.
Yeah.
If I'm going to ask you a question when we go to like because I think we'll use next year.
Yeah.
Like what's next?
Yeah, go on.
If Eubank, you think it's good enough for Eubank to just win on points, or does Eubank have to stop him?
Yeah, he's good enough to win on points.
No. Do you think it's good enough?
Yeah, I think it's good enough.
So he doesn't have to stop him?
I don't think he has to stop him.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think
you don't feel like you fighting a guy who's a career 47, moving up to your weight class. You don't feel like you have to stop him?
Eubank's an old, like not old, but he's coming to the twilight of his career. I don't think that, we'll talk about what's next. I don't think he's got big food that's next. It's not like he's waiting on the Canelo fight.
So a win's a win.
A win's a win. There's nothing that's going to be damaged. I don't think Eubank's image or boxing credibility or anything like that is damaged by beating Conor Benn on points. Like I said, I don't know. You said Eubank is fringe world level at his natural weight. I don't know about that. I don't. You know, I think he's a long way off. Fringe world level means that you go and fight the world champions at your weight class and you are the underdog, but there's a window of opportunity for you. I
think because and this it kind of goes back to my point with Ben. Because I was going to ask you what's next for both fighters. And for me, you might be right because he's probably looking at, I think in a long term...
There's not a world champion that Chris can beat at 160 or 160.
I was going to get onto that. But I think, Conor Benn, it might actually be better for Eubank to win on points. Let me tell you why. If he wins on points, there's a better chance of getting a rematch, which is the big money. If he blasts Conor Benn out in 5 rounds, no one's going to buy into
that. That was exactly the point I was going to make. That's why I said to you earlier, like when I said, let's talk about what's next. I think that the rematch will probably be what's next. And depending on how it loses, because that will be the biggest money fight for them.
So maybe it could be a case of like Ben trying to carry...
Or if Ben even knocks him down at some point and then he gets up to win, then we get a rematch. It needs to be an entertaining and competitive fight. Right, we're going to be live. Yeah, we're going to be live on Saturday night. What time are we going live roughly? Like because what I'm trying to say is like we're going live for this whole card, right?
I don't know.
From Vidal Riley. Do you want to go live for that or no?
I guess we'll be live for from 7:45.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming the main event's going to be 10:30. So if the main event's at 10:30, 3 fights back, I would probably say 7:45.
Man's going to have to stack up on pizza and wings for this.
Or do you want to do it later? Do you want to go live later? 8 o'clock?
But I'm saying I want to watch these 5 fights. These 5 fights we just talked about, I wouldn't mind watching them. So what time would we? We'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll be live.
Saturday night we'll be live.
And it'll be in the description. So by the time this video actually goes out, we would have already decided.
Yeah. So definitely, what you can do, click on the link in the live. So we're going to schedule the live. So click on the link so that you can be here as soon as we go live. We're going to be covering the whole card. And this is pretty much taking up the whole show, blood. Do you know what I'm saying? But this is it. Yeah. This is whether we like it or not, the biggest British fight of the year
facts.
So far. Very likely to be the biggest British fight of the year entirely, unless we get an AJ Dubois rematch, something like that. But that looks unlikely.
Or maybe AJ Fury. That looks unlikely.
Definitely unlikely. So this could be the biggest British fight and maybe the biggest British card of the entire year. Facts. So make sure that you lock in. Do you know what I'm saying?
We're going to be here, of course. I know you guys are going to be here because you guys have been supporting recently.
The supporters are huge. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well. We're on the road to 2K. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So please do help us and make that happen. Click the bell notification as well with all them things there. And that's it, man. We'll see you, man, Saturday night. We're out.